All right, take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, I want to begin by welcoming all of you and thanking you for joining us today. I'm here to introduce a crew of folks who will tell you about the UC Davis Continuing Professional Education Executive Leadership Program. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to tell you more about the program. I want to begin by introducing myself, and then I'll introduce the other folks on this call. My name is Kirsten Mijos. I am the chair of Business, Health, and Leadership at CPE. I was part of the team that really retooled the executive leadership program in 2020 to really meet the needs of our learners and change things. So we're excited to roll out in 2021 an exciting program for you today. What we're asking for in this info session is a lot of participation, primarily through the chat. That's sort of the best way. So we're going to introduce some program details and the program leaders and the folks you'll be speaking to, but we really want to encourage your questions at any point. Drop them in the chat, and we'll be happy to respond. Heather, can you advance us forward, please? And that'll allow me to turn over to the rest of the team one more. So I'm going to let the rest of the team introduce themselves at this point. So I'd love to just start in the order that you're seeing them. So Dr. Cleveland Justice, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Cleveland Justice, and I'm the director of the program. It's great to be here. Great to see so many folks joining us for the webinar, and you'll be hearing more from me in a couple minutes.
Hi, everybody. My name's Heather Ogle. I'm the program manager. Once you're in the program with us, I'll be working closely with you on all of the details for your course. It's great to meet you.
Hi, everyone. I am Christy Craig, and I'm your enrollment coach with UC Davis. And I am here to help you throughout the process of getting enrolled with us and submitting those applications. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the chat a link. If you'd like further information after the info session has concluded, feel free to schedule an appointment with me and I'm happy to help you through. And then also I'm going to attach our application link. If you'd like to open that and follow along, you're able to complete it. If you'd like to submit it by the end of the information session, we'll be happy to review it with the panel today and get you a response of your application status no later than 5 p.m. today. So thank you all, and I look forward to meeting with you.
Wonderful. At this point, I would like to turn this over to Dr. Justice to talk through the new restructured and improved executive leadership program, which we believe really meets the needs of today's executives.
So much. Wonderful if you could, by the way, if you're doing this, if you could put and where you're from.
Dr. Justice, your bandwidth, I think, might be a little bit off. I'm getting it choppy. Heather, are you getting it choppy too? I see Olivia's nodding. Yeah. So it's great you've gone off camera. That'll probably help with bandwidth. But if it continues, I'm happy to jump in as you need. I believe what you just asked folks to do is put something in the chat, right? Where they're from?
Yes, where they're from and what they're hoping to get out of the program.
This is sounding much better. I'm going to go on to mute. I think maybe you've got it from here.
Right. Well, let me know if I'm not. I'm not sure what's happening. There's some construction outside, but it is 2021. So thanks again. If you could put your name and where you're from and something you're hoping to get out of the program into the chat, that will help us tailor this conversation to you a little bit. So what I'd like to do is just touch on this first slide, which are the 4 pillars of our program that guide all of our approach to this program, which is first and foremost, it's a top-notch leadership curriculum. Our instructors and our faculty work incredibly hard to find the leading leadership curriculum, and we know that you're busy people and we want to make it accessible and enjoyable for you with a lot of good content without a lot of needing to read and scour it, but it's cutting edge from top research and practitioners. The second pillar is this leadership 360-degree leadership program. And that is confidential process where you get feedback from your supervisors, from your peers, and from your subordinates. That is absolutely essential to this program and help guides the next pillar, which is our executive coaching component of the program. So those two go hand in glove for helping you learn what you're strong at, but perhaps more importantly, those areas that you could bolster to become a more effective leader. And then finally, the capstone part of this project is the organizational transformation plan. And the focus here is to take the learnings from the program and help you apply it to your organization, and to take all the different models, all that we've learned throughout the program, all the guest speakers, and use it to help transform your organization. So this is what drives our program, and I'll get in a little bit more detail in the next slide. So if you could advance the next slide. Great. So this slide covers our core curriculum and tracks with the sessions of the program. And a number of these are additions that we added given all that's happened in the last 2 years between COVID and Black Lives Matter, and organizations needing to be much more relevant than they have been in the past. So you can see it here. I just touched on some of the new ones so we don't spend a lot of time with information that you can read yourself. But one of the new components that we heard from our last cohort was so valuable was this remote leadership. We're hearing from the head of HR at Gap Incorporated, who's going to talk about leading remote teams from around the world, not just how to do it on Zoom, but how to lead people across, because we've often been thrown into this with the assumption that we know how to do it, but actually there's some very specific leadership traits to working in the remote environment that you're going to hear from Vicki in her session. As you, I don't know if you can see Olivia, but she's nodding her head, as I know that was one of her favorite sessions. We also added a session on inclusive leadership and bias because we heard from so many executives that they were really struggling with the challenges of building a more inclusive work culture. And we also added a new session on mindfulness and in mindful leadership, and an amazing woman from the DC area. She trains Fortune 100 companies all over the world, and how not to make it a spiritual thing, but very bottom line driven, and the real benefits that can come from inclusive leadership. So this gives you a sense of what the program is and why we're different from other programs, because this is not recorded, this is live, this is in person, you're interacting with these people and getting to know these sessions. And we found from many people that it is much better than some of the other formats. Sounds like people are maybe having trouble hearing me. Okay, got it. You can hear me, Olivia? Yeah, perfect. Let's go to the next slide. Great. So in addition to the instructors, we have case study speakers who are executives that are working and leading major corporations, major government initiatives, major new ventures. And this is a sampling of the people that we heard from in our last cohort, and many of them are coming back to this cohort, including the director of the California State Park System, Dr. Steve Lockhart, who just stepped down as the Chief Medical Officer of Sutter Health, and our very own Chancellor from UC Davis. So just really extraordinary people. Kirsten Toby, who founded Revolution Foods, literally with a friend, and now is a $300 million a year annual business. So dynamic speakers that you don't have to read their case studies, you get to be with them in the classroom, which is Zoom, but you get to hear from them real time. And then we dissect their case studies after they presented it and use it as the lessons in real time for our conversations. So the learning is intended to be very practical. We're taking the best practices, but then we're applying it to real world scenarios. And you have an opportunity to talk about your challenges as a leader and your opportunities for growth and how you can transform your own organization. So let's go to the next one. Next slide. Another component of this is our executive programming, executive coaching. We have certified coaches that focus on your 360 feedback, and it's all strength-based. For some people, this can feel a little intimidating, but for many, it can be their highlight of the whole program. And hopefully Olivia will speak to that a little bit, because people come in a little nervous about this, and they find that it's absolutely just helps them transform, because rarely do people really give you the feedback that you need to grow. And this way it's confidential, and then you get to process it with an industry leader coach who's able to help you get better and make sense of all this data that's coming in from sometimes 5, 10, 15 people that submit feedback into the tool that we use. It's an incredible tool. Let's go to the next slide. And then finally, this program is designed, and Kirsten and I and a couple others worked really hard to design this to make it even more relevant to this remote environment and Zoom-based environment. Some people have said, hey, are you going to go back to in person? Yeah, we likely will, but the Zoom environment has worked so well because for a lot of people, it's hard to get to Davis, and we're able to bring the head of GAP, who's incredibly busy, her head of GAP's HR department, and bring her in. It'd be very hard to get her to come for a 3-hour session to Davis. We were able to get Lori Cameron, who's world renowned for her work with mindfulness, and she's East Coast based. So we bring in great people in this format. They are relevant, they're exciting, and they're world-class teachers and case studies. And we try to make it for you, use your time the best we can. So we're asking, the program is on every other week. It's Tuesday afternoons and Friday mornings, as you see here. The weeks that we don't have the program, we ask that you meet in what we call home groups, which are smaller groups of about 4 people that you are working on your organizational transformation plans with. And that's about an hour commitment that you all schedule. So, we try to not impinge too much on your family time or your other time. So that's why we do it from 2 to 6 and 9 to 1, because we are expecting your employers to approve this for you and to be committed to your growth as a leader, because ultimately you're going to give back to your organization or your company. So it's about 7 hours a week of content, and it goes for 12 weeks. We record the sessions, but we expect you to attend. It's not designed as a recorded or an asynchronous program. We understand that you're busy and you may have to miss a session or two. That's fine, and you can catch up on video, but this is not intended to be one that you only participate via video. So that's just know that. And we try to minimize the prep time because we know you're busy, but there is some reading, and it's usually pretty interesting and relevant kind of articles from Harvard Business Review or publications like that. So you're kind of things that you probably would talk about with your teams anyway. So you'd find that to be interesting. We try to spare the overly academic pieces for other courses at UC Davis. This, we try to make it based on research, but very much applicable right away in your organization. Let's go to the next slide. Kirsten, would you like to introduce our guest speaker?
I'd be really happy to do that. I'm very pleased this morning to introduce Olivia Bergadamo. She was a shining star in our cohort that we ran in the spring. And a wonderful emerging leader she can tell you more about the organization she works for and some of the ways that the program has impacted her leadership skills and abilities. But I think you'll all find her to be someone who's a lot like yourself, looking to become a better leader and really open to learning from the expertise of others and learning from her cohort themselves. So she was someone who had a great experience, not just learning from the experts we brought in, but also from her home group, which Dr. Justice spoke to briefly. So Olivia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. So I'm guessing I go ahead and introduce myself now, or yeah.
So what I would say is introduce yourself, Olivia, and then we can just have a conversation. I'll
Yeah.
jump in with some questions. Kirsten may jump in with some questions, but it's just really a conversation. And we'd ask for the participants to put your own questions there. So the more questions that you all ask in the chat, the more we can tailor it. So I think you all are usually the highlight. You're the highlight of the guest of this, because they want to know from you what it was like. So
Sure.
yeah, make it a conversation.
Yeah. So again, my name is Olivia Bergadamo, and I work for the California Department of Water Resources. And I'm currently a supervising engineer, but I'm in a really special position. I'm currently the technical advisor to the State Water Project Deputy Director, and it's a mentoring role. And so the deputy mentioned to me this class, and he said it was a great experience for himself, and that a lot of the DWR leadership have also participated in this class through the years, and that I could learn a lot from it. And although I am crazy busy, I have 2 small kids under the age of 5, I work full time. I was like, there's no way I can do this class. But he really supported me and really wanted me to take the class. And actually, several other leaders in our organization really thought this was a great class. So they were really pushing me. And so I said no at first, and then I went back and changed my mind, and I'm glad I did. It is a commitment, but it was really worth it. I learned a lot of different things, and I don't know if Clev wants me to touch on any of them specifically. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Yeah. I think it'd be great if you wanted to touch base a little bit, or just touch on some of your highlights. Like, what are the now that you're out of the program a couple months, like, what are the highlights that you'd like to share? And I'd invite our participants to jump in with questions too.
So I think probably well, for me, and I've mentioned this before as a subsequent conversation to the class finishing up, is that really the mindfulness course I really enjoyed. Where I work at the State Water Project, we own and operate this probably the largest water conveyance system in California. And so we are very much operations and maintenance driven, and there's lots of emergencies, and it's constantly a rush. And sometimes that can bring out the good parts of people and also like the very stressed. And so I think the mindfulness really helped me. I didn't think I could apply it in my job, just because everyone is so action oriented. But that's not true. You can apply it, and it helps you become grounded when everyone else is just going crazy. And it makes you the calm leader, the better leader, the more organized leader. And so I really enjoyed the whole mindfulness. And there was a speaker, and we actually got a book as part of it. It was just really, I thought, really great and very helpful to me. It helped me become a better leader. I can keep on going. I haven't been looking on the chat, but I wrote down some notes to myself as we were.
Yeah, you're doing great. I think just other highlights, and another question that I have, Olivia, is kind of how have you seen the difference in your work style afterwards? Because I know you're juggling just tremendous responsibilities, and you threw yourself into this, but it's a big deal. And I'm curious, as you look back at it, have you changed? Have you thought about your work differently?
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into the next thing I was going to talk about, was that executive coaching. You mentioned that I think you said it was intimidating. I would say very much so. It was. Anytime you have your peers do an honest evaluation, a part of you is a little intimidated because there's a 360 evaluation as part of that executive coaching. But it really helped me recognize that I don't always have to be talking or be like directing people to do things because people pointed out some things to me that they didn't realize that I was emanating, in my leadership style, if that makes any sense. I realized that I needed to improve in certain areas and not always be the person who's directing people to do X, Y, and Z. And it's not a change in leadership style. It's just learning when to use that trait that you have and when to hold it back. And you don't need it 100% all the time. You don't have to have the pedal to the metal all the time. And so I think I've gone a lot better at holding it back, if that makes sense. Like I've been able to create more of a balance. I feel more of a balanced leader. And that's helpful. That came from this training, is that I don't always have to be 100% pushing and leading. Sometimes leaders lead from behind. So.
Did you have a favorite, you mentioned the mindfulness, speaker. Any other case studies or speakers that really stood out for you?
Yeah, the remote leadership also spoke to me, but kind of probably in a different way, because my organization is actually not doing, the State Water Project is not doing remote work anymore. As you can see, I'm in my office. But it helped me see other people's perspective, because my boss is the deputy director of the State Water Project, which includes different groups, not just operations and maintenance, but also like environmental services and other divisions. And a lot of those people just didn't see the need to be in the office. And so I was really trying to be their voice. And so listening, and I believe it was the HR from Gap, correct? Wasn't she did the remote leadership, right? It really helped me understand how to be a leader for those people. And I really, really pushed it. I'm on the steering committee of the long-term hybrid workplace plan. So I'm actually trying to drive to our leadership that there needs to be a balance, that, you can't be always 100%. Well, you can be always 100% at work. It's physically possible. But I think that in these times, we recognize that it doesn't have to be, and people can be happier and more efficient and just enjoy their work more if we create more of a balanced work, workplace for them. I'm not sure how to characterize that, but basically they don't have to sit at their desks every day. And it actually makes them a better worker when they can have that balance between home and the office. So listening to her, I can't recall her name, I'm sorry, really helped me understand where those people were coming from and what they're asking for.
I'm curious a little bit, because I know one of the reasons people take this program is to get to know other people outside their own company. And it seems like when I look back on our last cohort, it was a pretty diverse group of people from a lot of different industries. I'm just curious if you'd share some reflections on your colleagues and any things that you learned from them.
So I guess I would have to speak the most about my home group, which was an amazing group. Actually, it was so funny because I would come back to them and I'd be like, I don't understand how we're going to apply this. I don't get it. And then it was almost like we all had different roles in the group. It's like it's like whoever put us together knew that we were going to be like, I'm trying to figure out how to explain this, but it's like there was one person in our group that had this specific role to ground everyone. There was this one specific person to be the wise one. There was this one, because it was as though it's as though you knew, and I don't know how you all knew this, but you put us together and we were like the perfect mix, if that makes sense. We really balanced each other out. And it was such a great experience because they helped ground me a lot. A lot of times I was like, oh, I don't think I can do this. And they're like, oh, sure, you're making, look at it this way. And I'm like, oh, I never thought of it that way. So I don't know how you guys did that, but we were a perfect like mesh and balanced each other out. And we all came from totally different organizations. I think I worked with someone from it was the Department of Justice. So it was a lawyer. And then there was also someone who was like the chief of probation, or I can't remember all their titles. I still get together with that. We had been getting together and then we missed the last one. But I mean, they were just a great group. And I really enjoyed them, and I really enjoyed the support, and I really enjoyed bouncing things off of them. It was great. Yeah,
I echo that too. I mean, I also teach at Berkeley's in Berkeley's business school, and I was really impressed with the diversity of people. I would say, and I don't know, Kirsten might know the numbers, but I would say that probably about a third of the people in our cohort were from the private sector, from construction, or someone from Kaiser, and and then about a third from government, and about a third were entrepreneurs that were leading and changing. So it was probably more, and more than other leadership programs. I think it just really showed the diversity of the Sacramento Davis region, and I think people started to be able to build out their network, not only with their own industry, but outside of it, to say, wow, I didn't realize that that you have these challenges in construction. I didn't realize you have these challenges in healthcare or real estate, or there's even a senior leader from the food bank. So anyway, that was something I know from my vantage point.
Yeah, that's those are all really good observations, because I didn't even. Yeah, when it came down to it, now that you say that, I didn't even think about it that way. When it came down to it, even though we were all from different professions, we all had the same problems, or we were all faced with the same challenges. Problems is probably not the right word, but we all saw areas in which we could grow, and they were all very either similar. Well, that's also something, is that there were several people. There was one person in my group that actually was on the tail end of her career. And so that was really great too, is to have this mix of experience too. And so, it was, it was a great group, and I really I need to reconnect with them after this again.
Yeah, well, we're going to do a reunion, I think.
That's right.
Yeah, with everybody. So I think it's one, I just enjoyed everyone. And I think that's, for all the people listening, I would say that's one of the things that really distinguishes our program from other leadership programs, is that it's so personal. You have my cell phone number. You can reach out to Kirsten anytime. She's my boss and the chair of this department, as well as a couple of others. We're very approachable. And one of the things I've noticed, and I've taught at Georgetown, Berkeley, our program, and others, is that you there's a distance there. For here, there's not, and you really get access to everybody. And I think that's a fun part of this. And even the guest speakers, you really get to know them. So
yeah.
Thank you. Well, we're probably going to wrap this up in a couple of minutes, but I just want to put out one more call for questions. If before, we're going to wrap up with you, Olivia. Actually, Christy and Kirsten have some more to add afterwards, but just if there are specific questions that you all have for Olivia, now's a great time to put those in the chat, because we want to make sure we get to those. But the final question I have is, if you had advice for people that are thinking of signing up for this program, what would that be?
Well, I think what intimidated me the most, as I started to allude to in the beginning, is the time commitment. You see this and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to fit this in my busy work schedule? But it's really possible. And you guys are so flexible, and you completely understand that, hey, I need to run and pick up my son from preschool, or hey, I need to step off because my boss wants to talk to me. And you completely are understanding of that. And so don't be scared of the time commitment. And it goes by so fast. Like, I remember thinking to myself, I wish we could have spent another hour on that topic, And so it's not painful. The topics are super interesting. And you are all so respectful of the fact that we are professionals, and we're mothers or fathers or just care providers, and so that's That's really helpful. I mean, I had an incident after this class where someone was not like that. So it's not the norm. So I really appreciate it. And then the other thing is, like, there's some challenging exercises, but that home group, they help you through it. So there's nothing to be intimidated by this class. You're just going to learn, and you learn some really good things. And so I would really encourage people to take this course, because it's worth it. And whatever you put in is what you get out, right? So, yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Kirsten, before we hand it over to you, any last questions for Olivia or even for Christy or Heather that you wanted to make sure we touched on?
I actually, for Olivia, want to say thank you, because I think one of the biggest concerns that I talk to folks about as they're contemplating the program is the time commitment. So I just think that was so compelling. And thank you for adding that last piece, that we will absolutely work with you, and you'll get a lot of support just even from your home cohort folks around you. So no, that was all I wanted. I feel like that covers everything. I would encourage, again, for if you're out here and you're a participant and you're watching this, we're going to get to kind of the logistics next. But if you have more questions about how this program is run, what it feels like to be in the program, what would it mean for you, this would be an amazing time to put them in the chat. If you're getting everything you need, we'll just continue forward with the information and be open to questions as we go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Olivia.
Yeah, the only thing else I was going to add,
Yes.
I had written down, is you guys provide some really great resources, not just the speakers, but the reading material, the PowerPoints, the book, like the books. I did not expect to get them in the mail. It's just, you provide some really great stuff. So
that's a really good point, that textbooks are part of the program. And then oftentimes in these types of programs, it's incumbent upon the student to go and purchase additional textbooks. And we've really tried to create, we know who our audience is, and we've really tried to create a system that is one stop and you get everything you need.
Yeah, it was great. So
good.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, no problem. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a great day.
You too.
All right, Kirsten, you going to guide us in the next part?
I think I will. So this is logistics. This is, we talked a little just then, we referred to what's included in this fee for tuition. So one of the things we actually did is we brought down the tuition cost in 2020, and that was really in deference to the fact that times are changing, and we really wanted to create a more inclusive program. But that doesn't mean that we somehow brought down the level of quality. In fact, I think going remote allowed us to increase that. So what you should know is that your tuition covers everything, meaning there will be no additional fees at any point in the program. That's all your materials. That includes 2 textbooks. That includes access to a Canvas site where we will upload any other additional reading and articles and things that will really contribute to your learning. You'll have full access to that Canvas site while you are in the course to dig as far as you like. It also includes this 360 assessment that Dr. Justice referred to. And again, I think a lot of leaders, particularly executives, myself included, we've done 360s. We know what it's like to survey those around us. But what maybe a lot of you haven't had is the additional 2 hours of coaching. So what I haven't always had is a one-to-one licensed coach who can walk me through my results and help me with the good and the bad of that, and to develop a plan to really change my leadership style to better serve those I lead and those around me. So I think that's an additional bonus that I don't want to forget. And then an additional hour of coaching. So you get 1 hour of coaching after you do that 360 survey and the results come back, and then an additional hour toward the end of the program where you really are putting all of what you learned into place and into action. And again, I think that's so important that that one-to-one support from a licensed coach is available. We have at UC Davis, as I'm sure you know, an incredible coaching program where we graduate coaches out, and they seek this sort of levels of certification. And the folks that are supporting this program have been working in the field supporting executives for, gosh, at least 2 decades each. So lots of experience, lots of good choices in terms of coaches as well. We have a very diverse crew of folks. You are not just assigned, you're going to get to choose one of many coaches to work with. So that's everything in terms of what you'll get. The first session is starting September 9th. So we have an application deadline that is just 2 weeks away. And we like to do that so we know exactly who's in our cohort. We can administer those exams, we can administer those 360 surveys, we can get your textbooks out to you. So that application deadline of August 26th really is meant to fill the cohort. If space exists, we may extend beyond that, but it's not at all a guaranteed. So we really want for you to come in as soon as possible. And that's part of why Christy was good enough to put the link to the application on today, is we know you're busy. If one of the things we've learned that has helped save application time and energy is filling the application out while we're in info session. You can listen to how it may benefit you while you're also just filling in the things. And at the end of the day, you have a completed application and we can even review it today. So we really want to maximize your time. And that's just one more way we want to evidence our commitment to you. So there's a website link that is in the chat, and it does start on September 9th. I would say I would want to turn it over to Christy if there are other things you'd like to add, Christy, particularly the types of services and support you can offer potential applicants. And yes, Heather, thanks for mentioning the application fee is waived as well. So it is absolutely free to apply.
Yeah, so again, I just encourage, I know that a lot of information was provided during this information session. If you have any additional questions, or if you need just a quick review of certain topics, I'm absolutely happy to provide that for you. I've opened up my calendar, so I do have availability this afternoon if you're on a tight schedule. And of course, I'm open for you tomorrow as well. So please schedule around your convenience. I'm happy to take phone calls. My information is available for you in the chat. Please reach out. I'm happy to help you with any questions you have about the program. We're here to make it very successful for you. So please reach out. I'm here for you. Thank you.
One of the things I do want to mention as well that Christy is a whiz at is helping with employer-funded training. So if you know that you may have employer funding that you could take advantage of, Christy can help you navigate that and provide you with the documentation you need to submit to be able to secure that funding. Absolutely, I'd be happy to. All right. I think we have generally, Heather, what's next on so as we close today, I really just want to make sure you have all the information you need of who to reach out to for what reasons. So I'm going to go down the list. I would say if you haven't yet applied, I would actually start in the middle of the list and reach out to Christy and work with her on getting enrolled. Subject matter expert being Dr. Justice, he is the director of the program. So if you have really detailed questions about the curriculum, assessments and the organizational transformation plan you'll be creating, you can send them his way. And then, as Heather mentioned in the start of this information session, she is the go-to once you're enrolled. She will be supporting you every step of the way with all of the administrative and logistic details. Dr. Justice, was there something else you wanted to say? I see you've come off mute.
No, I was just going to echo that. Christy's a great resource, and if I'm of course happy if you want to reach out to me or have any questions. That's my email. I'm happy to answer questions anytime or give you some sample materials so you have a sense of what that is. But Christy is just an invaluable resource and has been very creative at helping people find funding and get enrolled in a timely basis. So I encourage you to start there, but of course you're welcome to reach out to me. I'm even around this weekend. So if you're busy during the week and you like to set up a time for the weekend, I'm happy to talk to you then as well.
Well, as we close the session, then what I'd like to do is I'm going to keep the line open for at least another few minutes. So at least the next 3 minutes, which is around 11:45. I'll give it a few more minutes and really encourage those of you who still have questions. We have set this time aside to serve you. So we really want to make sure that that time is best spent doing just that. So if you have additional questions you'd like to bring into the chat, I'm going to keep this line open for the next few minutes to allow for that.
Great, and thanks everybody for joining us. Very much appreciate that, and hope we see you in the program.